Hi there, this is Solitude Ronin from Solitude Ronin Films, and welcome to another collection reset for 2026. Today I'm going to talk about an underrated and odd little label from the United States called Kino Lorber. Again, they do some interesting little films that nobody else releases. Granted, their extras on the disc can be kind of hit and miss. Sometimes it's bare bones, sometimes there's lots of extras. So again, I'm just going to go through my collection as of 2026 after I've pared my Kinos down a little bit. But I do have a soft spot. They're thin, which is always good because you can get more on the shelves. So I'm just going to go through the kind of odd ones that don't have the traditional black spine. Then I'll go through the A to Z, and then there's a pile of box sets at the end that will go through. Again, let me know your favourite Kino Lorber titles, or which ones I should try and pick up. Obviously they've played the Blu-ray and then upgrading to 4K as well. But usually when they do a 4K they include a Blu-ray as well, which is generally region A, but unlike certain other people, Arrow, when they do a 4K they do add the Blu-ray as well. So the first one is Robert Sodomak's The Devil Strikes at Night, again with not the black spine. This is a fantastic film. I think I did a random review of this with the criminally underrated Mario Adorf, who's been in 1,000 films. Yeah, this is from 1957. This is when Sodomak went back to Germany. Yeah, and it's basically a serial killer film set in World War II. It's absolutely fantastic. And then next for my Joseph Losey season, I picked up Galileo, starring Topol, based on the Bertolt Brecht's play. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was quite fantastic. Again, you can go and see the video in my Losey season. It's from 1975. It's 145 minutes. But it's just so good. The production design's fantastic as well, and Topol's wonderful. And then next from the Library of Congress, it's Ida Lupino's The Hitchhiker. You got to have some Ida Lupino. This is from 1953. It's only 71 minutes. It was co-written by Ida Lupino as well. It stars Edward O'Brien. Hitchhiker is a wonderful little film. And then Yorgos Lanthimos's first film solo is Kineta, which I do adore because it's just so obtuse. As three characters kind of randomly go about this deserted seaside town in Greece. But it all kind of comes together once you figure it out. But Lanthimos, as he's best, is going to tell you what the hell's going on. And there's a commentary on the disc as well. So that's Kineta, which is wonderful. And then the Dardennes, Young Ahmed, probably their least successful film, I would say. As usual, got themselves into trouble because it's about a young Muslim. And perhaps, you know, they don't go about it the right way, but to be honest, it's a brave film to at least try and do, because obviously there's certain subjects that people just don't want to talk about at all. Yes, that's Young Ahmed by the Dardennes. Not one of their best, but certainly obviously worth seeing just because it's the Dardennes. Another Lanthimos. I probably prefer this to Dogtooth, which is his kind of breakout hit. This is Alps, again, which has another commentary by Amy Simmons, just like Canetta did. This is from 2011, and it's about a group of people who have a service where they replace a deceased member of a family and pretend to be the deceased member of a family. It's Lanthimos, what can I say, and it's absolutely fantastic. Then next, with another random brown cover, brown spine, sorry, a fairly random western from 1978, directed by David Leitz. It's Shoot the Sundown, and it's Christopher Walken doing his Best Man with No Name, with Margaret Kidder, Geoffrey Lewis. It's a really strange little western, as they're after gold, aren't they all in westerns? Yeah, really odd western, but of course when you've got Walken, you've got oodles of entertainment. So we'll start, if you hear a large crash, it's because the pile's fallen over. So I'll start alphabetically with the traditional black spine, and it's Alias Nick Beale, the Ray Milland, which is just absolutely fantastic. And there's a traditional black background of a Kino Lorber. This has got commentary with Eddie Miller, who always does great work, and a trailer. This is from 1949 and directed by John Farrow. And this is perhaps a Faustian tale. Then we have, I don't have a lot of Douglas Sirk films. In fact, I think I've only got 2 Douglas Sirk films. But I do have All I Desire because Barbara Stanwyck's in it, and I have developed a liking for Barbara Stanwyck. So this is from 1953, and this is a commentary by Imogen Sarah Smith and a trailer, and it's quite wonderful. We've got Billy Wilder, one of his weakest, but still a lot to enjoy. It's just way too long, like quite a lot of his later films were. This is from 1972, 140 minutes, and it's Avanti. But if you want to see Jack Lemmon's bottom, then this is the film for you. This has got an interview with Juliet Mills and Clive Revill and the original trailer. So that's Avanti. And then a fun little western with Lee Van Cleef and Warren Oates. Lee Van Cleef and Warren Oates weren't in enough films together, obviously. Barquero. This is from 1970. Again, probably a bit too long, directed by Gordon Douglas. But you've got Lee Van Cleef and Warren Oates on opposite sides. I mean, you can't make that now. And then good old Anthony Mann and good old James Stewart. Bend of the River with Arthur Kennedy and Rock Hudson. This is from 1952 in colour, and this has got a commentary by film historian Toby Rowan and the theatrical trailer. Claude Chabrol's Bluebeard, which is hilarious. If you've seen my Umbrella, I got the Richard Burton version of Bluebeard as well, which is hysterical. This stars Stéphane Dran and Charles Denier as Bluebeard. This is a lot of fun. Is it completely successful? Probably not, but it's still a lot of fun. From 1963. This is a 4K restoration for the original camera negative, and there's a commentary by Kat Ellinger. It's just not enough Chabrol. And speaking of which, here's another Chabrol. Blue Panther. Again, I did a random review in this as well. Again, with a wonderful little cameo by Stéphane Dran, with Akim Tamaroff as a criminal mastermind. This is from 1965. It's a 4K restoration from the original camera negative, and there's a commentary by Howard Esberger, Steve Mitchell and Nathaniel Thompson. So that's more Chabrol fun and games. Then we've got a 4K of Bob Le Flambeur, and again with the slipcover and the Blu-ray. This is from 1956, if you don't know already. And you get a commentary with Nick Pinkerton, and you get Diary of a Villain documentary, and a theatrical trailer. That's the 4K of Melville's Bob Le Flambeur. And then we got a Henri Verneuil, which I really have to get more of. This is The Body of My Enemy with Jean-Paul Belmondo. There's a ton of Belmondo films in Kino Lorber, which I really need to get at some point. This is from 1976, and you get a commentary by Howard Esberger, Steve Mitchell and Nathaniel Thompson. Again, unusual spine, not the usual black spine, but it's still a black spine. Buffet Fra, which is just hilarious, by Bertrand Blier, with Gerard Depardieu, Bernard Blier and Jean Carmet. This is from 1979, and this is absurdist humour. And then we have Burnt Offerings with Oliver Reed from 1976. Produced and directed by Dan Curtis. Karen Black, Burgess Meredith is in it, Betty Davis is in it, Lee Montgomery. Yeah, it's a strange little film, but Oliver Reed's in it, so that's all you need to know. And then a couple of my most treasured possessions. Carol Lombard Collection 1. This is Fast and Loose, Man of the World and No Man of Her Own. These are all fantastic, of course. There's Fast and Loose from 1930. That just has trailers. Man of the World with her first husband William Powell, which has a commentary by Sam Dane and trailers. And No Man of Her Own with Clark Gable, her second husband. And this has got a commentary with Nick Pinkerton and trailers, and that's from 1932. That's Carl Lombard Volume 1, but it wouldn't be complete with Carl Lombard Collection 2, which has Hands Across the Table, Love Before Breakfast and The Princess Comes Across. Arguably all better films than the first three. There's Love Before Breakfast, co-starring Cesar Romero and Preston Foster, directed by Walter Lang. This is 1936. And this has got a commentary by Alexandra Helen Nicholas and Joshua Nelson, the Australian Dream Team. And then Hands Across the Table with Fred McMurray from 1935, directed by Mitchell Leisen. Commentary with Alan Arkush and Daniel Kramer. And then maybe my personal favourite out of the three, The Princess Comes Across, again with Fred McMurray, from 1936, directed by William K. Howard. And this has got another commentary, Alan Arkush and Daniel Kramer. So that's collection 1 and 2 of the wonderful Carol Lombard. And then this is another example of why Kino or Kino. This is Cattle Annie and Little Britches, of course it is, with Burt Lancaster, John Savage, Rod Steiger, Diane Lane as Jenny and Amanda Plummer as Annie. Scott Glenn's in this. This is from 1981. I'd never heard of it before until I picked up the Kino. This has got an interview with the producer and it's got a trailer. Then we've got a, if it wasn't for Spinal Tap, this would be one of the best rapumentaries, I guess. CB4 the movie with Chris Rock. I think I can safely say the only film I have with Chris Rock, Philip Hartman, Chris Elliott. It's basically Spinal Tap with rap, but it's got a tremendous soundtrack. It's got one of the most hilarious sex scenes of all time. It's got a commentary with Alexander Helen Nicholas and Josh Nelson, and Straight Outta Locash with director Tamra Davis and co-writer Nelson George. And the trailer, this is from 1993. It's hard to believe this is like 33 years old. That's mind-boggling. And then we have another Chabrol, And another film with Stéphane Dran, I don't know how that happened. Anthony Perkins, Maurice Ronet, The Champagne Murders, which the first time I saw it, I think I was actually a little bit disappointed. I think I was expecting so much more. From 1967, this has got a commentary by Howard Berger and Nathaniel Thompson, Trailers from Hell with Tim Hunter, and a theatrical trailer. Audrey Hepburn, Shirley MacLaine and James Garner in The Children's Hour. How the rumours of two ladies that might like each other more than two ladies should, according to some people. This is from 1961. I think this is available in BFI and Blu-ray as well. Great performances. Another VHS special. This is from 1988, and this is Cop with James Woods, Charles Durning, one of James Woods' most sleaziest but completely compelling performance, and it's got one of the best endings of all time. This has got a commentary with writer, producer and director James B. Harris, and a trailer gallery as well. And then arguably my favourite blaxploitation, Cotton Comes to Harlem, The Adventures of Gravedigger Jones and Coffin Ed, the two police officers. Calvin Lockhart as the villain, from 1970, directed by the one and only Ossie Davis. Great score, wonderful story, and just great performances. Just love Cotton Comes to Harlem. And then Pure Cheese, but I do absolutely adore it. Deep Rising with Treaty Williams and Famke Janssen. Stephen Summers, who did The Mummy, but this is infinitely superior. This is the 30th anniversary. Oh, I'm in the mood to watch it now. From 1998, and it's got a ton of special features. This is, again, sometimes Kino does this, and other times you just get a trailer. Deep Rising is just so much fun. Pure hokum, but it's a joy. Speaking of pure hokum, but it's a joy, I mean, look at the cover on this one. Burt Lancaster, Kirk Douglas and Larry Olivier, The Devil's Disciple. I mean, look at those faces. You can tell you're having fun. Again, I did a random review of this, I believe. Directed by Guy Hamilton from 1959. Yeah, so much fun. And then a film by Yves Boisset, dialogue by Michel Audiard, starring lots of French people and Lee Marvin. Dog Day. It also stars the little boy from Legend, and The Tin Drum from 1984. About a gangster out in the middle of the French countryside. It's got a commentary by Howard Berger and Steve Mitchell, and it includes both English and French audio versions in the theatrical trailer. It doesn't quite work. It should have been better than it actually is, but Lee Marvin is imperious as usual. Another Melville 4K. This is La Doulos with Jean-Paul Belmondo, from 1962. This has got a commentary by Sam Dane, an interview with the first AD Volker Scholdorf, who of course went on to direct films himself, and Birth of the Detective Story Melville style documentary, and a theatrical trailer. Another 4K, this is Cronenberg's Eastern Promises, which I always preferred to History of Violence, even though lots of people prefer History of Violence, but I prefer Eastern Promises, but that's just me. Again, included with the Blu-ray, this is from 2007, and you do get some nice special features, a featurette with writer Stephen Knight, a featurette with Cronenberg, another featurette with Cronenberg, another featurette with Cronenberg, and a featurette with Naomi Watts, and two trailers. Eastern Promises is fantastic. And then we have Jean Arthur, Edward Arnold and Ray Milland, directed by Mitchell Leisen, screenplay by Preston Sturgis, and it's Easy Living. I think I did a video on this as well. This is from 1937, got a commentary by Kat Ellinger, and it's fantastic. From 1985, John Boorman's The Emerald Forest, which is a wonderfully odd little film, starring Powers Booth and Meg Foster. Again on my Joseph Losey journey. This is Robert Shaw and Malcolm McDowell in Figures in a Landscape. Again, an odd film, actually written by Robert Shaw, from 1970, about two guys on the run from some nameless country and being chased by nameless forces. It is a bit strange. It's way too long, 110 minutes, but it's still fascinating, probably because of the two leads. A really underrated Richard Lester and underseen Richard Lester film, Finders Keepers, again with a ridiculous Richard Lester cast. Brian Dennehy, Pamela Stevenson, Beverly D'Angelo, Michael O'Keefe, yeah, whatever happened to him. Yeah, from 1984, you can pretty much tell what it is, but it's surprisingly enjoyable. Again, I think I did a video on that as well at some point. The 4K of A Fistful of Dollars, obviously Arrow released them as well, but you do get the Blu-ray as well. This is from 1964, strangely enough, and you do get a pile of features. I love the fact that Volonte is actually bigger than Eastwood, because we all know who the star of the film is, and it also stars Clint Eastwood. Commentary by Tim Lucas, the standard commentary by Christopher Frayling, which is always wonderful. Interview with actress Marianne Koch. A couple of featurettes. There's one including Clint Eastwood on the experience of making the film. Yeah, and location footage as well. And then, strangely enough, for a few dollars more on 4K, again starring some guy called Clint Eastwood, but it's really Lee Van Cleef and Volonte. That's why you're watching it, let's be honest. And a wonderful little turn by Klaus Kinski from 1965. And again, commentary with Tim Lucas, Christopher Frayling. There's a lovely little piece on location in Almira and Granada with Alex Cox. And there's pieces by Christopher Frayling and Clint Eastwood as well. A little bit disappointed in the back, there's no Volonte. I feel that's quite unfair. A film directed and starring Jean-Louis Trintignant, A Full Day's Work, about a guy who goes around doing lots of assassinations. From 1973, again, doesn't quite work, but fascinating nonetheless. It's a 4K restoration from the original camera negative, and there's a commentary by critic and author Simon Abrams and trailers. And then we've got another Lee Van Cleef. It's God's Gun. I did a random review of this as well, and this is another film that should have been better than it actually is. It's Lee Van Cleef, Jack Palance, Richard Boone and Sybil Danning. I mean, directed by Frank Kramer from 1976. It's got a commentary by Alex Cox, which makes it worth getting. Plus, again, it's a great cast. Again, just doesn't quite hang together the way it should. And then 4K of The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. I really like this alternate artwork from 1967 or 66, depending on which side of the Atlantic you're on. Again, commentary with Tim Lucas. There's a making of, there's a piece on Ennio Morricone, there's a piece on Sergio Leone, bizarrely. There's a Civil War documentary and reconstruction et al. And there's the Three Amigos in the back. But there's still no picture of Volonte. I don't understand. Just because he's not in the film, I mean, they could have still put a picture of Volonte in the back. Margaret Sullivan, Herbert Marshall, written by Preston Sturgis, directed by William Wyler, from 1935. This is The Good Fairy. Again, another wonderful 30s film, commentary by Simon Abrams, and the theatrical trailer. And another 4K, because I picked it up cheap, The Great Escape. I didn't actually realise it was 10 hours long. Steve McQueen, James Garner, Rich Attenborough, James Donald. Yeah, his name sticks out a bit, doesn't it? Charles Bronson, Donald Pleasance, James Coburn, directed by John Sturges, when he could actually direct. Again, there's an absolute load of special features, 2 commentaries and a load of featurettes. Yeah, picked up ridiculously cheap. I hadn't actually seen it for decades. And then again, this perfectly encapsulates Kino Lorber. Again, I did a random review of this because it's rather random. This is The Great Scout and Cat House Thursday. Yep, that's what it's called. This is from 1976. Directed by Don Taylor, Lee Marvin, Oliver Reed is a Native American, Robert Culp, Elizabeth Ashley, Strother Martin, Sylvia Miles. It's just so much fun. It shouldn't be, but it just is. It's just. And then one of my favourite films of all time, anything with Laird Krieger. This is directed by John Bram, really underrated director. This is Passion, Obsession, Insanity, Murder, Hangover Square. Whenever Laird Krieger hears music, he has blackouts and doesn't know what he's up to. This is from 1945. I don't know why this doesn't have a Region B release. There's a commentary by Steve Haberman and actor Faye Marlowe. There's a commentary by Richard Sheckle. The Tragic Mask, the Laird Krieger story, which is very sad. There's a trailer gallery, and there's the radio version performed by Vincent Price in the Laird Krieger role. Highly recommend that. And another John Boorman, which is absolutely brilliant. Lee Marvin and Toshiro Mifune in Hell in the Pacific. This has an on-camera interview with John Boorman, an interview with the art director. There's a commentary with Travis Crawford and Bill Ackerman. There's an alternate ending, if you want to see the alternate ending, which is interesting. And a trailer gallery. This is from 1968. 2 men, 1 island. You don't get more manly than Lee Marvin and Toshiro Mifune. One of my favourite films of all time. Period. It's Richard Lester again from 1967. How I Won the War. I got this before the BFI released it in Blu-ray. But I'll certainly not be getting rid of this one. Yeah, I just absolutely adore How I Won the War. So this has a couple of trailers from Hell on Lester's other films, The Knack and How to Get It and The Bed Sitting Room, and there's a trailer gallery of Richard Lester films. It's the same with the BFI release. There's not actually that many decent extras about this film, which is a shame. It's just had a Radiance release. It's fantastic. It's Francesco Rossi, it's Lino Ventura. I won't be getting rid of this edition even though I've got the Radiance edition. This is Illustrious Corpses, one of the greatest titles of all time. From 1976, co-stars the great Max von Sydow as well. Judges are getting assassinated. It's the Years of Lead. It's amazing. The 4K of In the Heat of the Night. But you also get the 2 sequels on Blu-ray. I didn't even realise there was a third film called The Organisation with Mr. Tibbs. So this has got a ton of special features as well. A commentary by Norman Jewison, Rod Steiger, Lee Grant and Haskell Wexler. Audio commentary with Steve Mitchell, Nathaniel Thompson and Robert Marsh. And you've got the 2 films, and then you've got the making of and a couple of featurettes, including one on Quincy Jones. So it's a threefer. You got all three in the trilogy. Yeah, that is a trilogy nobody mentions, because probably most people don't even know there is a third film, because I certainly didn't. Again, one of my favourite films of all time. Granted, I've got a lot of favourite films of all time. But Don Siegel's Invasion of the Body Snatchers, I could watch this literally every week. From 1956, it is only 80 minutes after all. I mean, I have grown to love the 1978 version, but this one will always have a place in my heart. Those beautiful little pod people. So this one's got 4 commentaries. There's a wonderful little featurette with Larry Cohn and Joe Dante, and there's a couple of other featurettes and the trailer. Yeah, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1956. Then another 4K, I do seem to have quite a lot of Kino Lorber 4Ks. The Italian Job. Benny Hill's finest work, from 1969, of course. Again, commentaries, Troy Kennedy Martin and Matthew Field, the author of The Making of the Italian Job. Another commentary by producer Michael Dealey and Matthew Field, the author of Michael Caine, You're a Big Man. There's a 2002 there's 3 2002 documentaries, a 2009 featurette, a deleted scene with optional commentary by Matthew Field, and theatrical and re-release trailers. Yeah, it's an iconic film with iconic moments. It might not be great overall, but iconic. Another Laird Krieger film, and he's not even on the front cover, directed by H. Bruce Humberstone, which sounds like a made-up name to me. I Wake Up Screaming with Victor Mature and Betty Grable. But it's Laird Krieger as the obsessed police inspector. This is from 1941, and it's brilliant. Commentary by Eddie Miller. There's an alternate hotspot opening title sequence, animated image gallery, a daddy deleted scene, alternate hotspot ad campaigns, and trailers. I'd recommend that one as well, because obviously it's got Laird Krieger in it. Burt Lancaster and Elizabeth Scott and I Walk Alone with Kirk Douglas. This was one of the first Kinos I got, I think, from 1947. I didn't get it in 1947. This has got a commentary with Troy Howarth, who always does great stuff, and there's trailers. It's about hard-boiled Burt Lancaster gets out of prison and wants to go back and get what's owed to him from Kirk Douglas, who he started the business with. But of course the world's changed, business has changed, and Burt Lancaster can't really fit in anymore. Just a wonderful, wonderful little noir. Michael Mann's TV movie, The Jericho Mile, which is wonderful, from 1979. Great cast, as usual. Peter Strauss, early Brian Dennehy. Yeah, tremendous. This has got a commentary with Lee Gambin, unfortunately no Michael Mann commentary, and an original trailer with no audio. I do actually have quite a few Kino Lorbers. Judgment at Nuremberg. Obviously there's a new one with Russell Crowe, which I'll probably avoid watching. This is from 1961. In Conversation is a featurette with Abby Mann and Maximilian Schell, a tribute to Stanley Kramer featurette, and The Value of a Single Human Being featurette, and there's a trailer. Yeah, another ridiculous cast. Spencer Tracy, Burt Lancaster, Richard Wood, Mark Marlena Dietrich, Judy Garland, Maximilian Schell, Montgomery Clift, and others. It's another 4K Stanley Kubrick's Killer's Kiss, not Killer's Chris, from 1955. There's a commentary with Imogen Sarah Smith and the theatrical trailer. Minor Kubrick, but you gotta, just like Pokemon, you've got to collect them all, even though I don't have Fear and Desire and I've never seen it. A personal favourite, I just adore this. It's Kolchak the Night Stalker, the complete series. Basically, the X-Files just ripped this off, and various other shows ripped this off. It ran from 1974 to 1975. It's 1,020 minutes. There's interviews, there's 21 commentaries on 20 episodes. Yep, one episode's got 2 commentaries. Yeah, I absolutely adore Kolchak. It's one of my favourite TV shows of all time. All they lived for was love and larceny. John Payne, Joan Caulfield, Dan DeRee and Shelley Winters in Larceny, directed by George Sherman from 1948. Larceny. Vincent Price, The Last Man on Earth, from the same source as The Mega Man. From 1964, there's an audio commentary with Richard Harlan Smith. There's a piece on Richard Matheson, storyteller. Trailer from Hell with Joe Dante. Shot in Italy, I believe. Fun stuff with Vincent Price. Another fascinating little Western directed by Robert Aldrich. Last Sunset with Rock Hudson and Kirk Douglas. I think I did a random review of this. Joseph Cotton, Neville Brand, Dorothy Malone. 1961. This is a commentary with Nick Pinkerton and a theatrical trailer. I had to get it, the 4K of Last Year Man Bad. Yeah, it's seminal. It's seminal. I always say this might be the greatest edited film of all time. And again, you get the 4K and the film on Blu-ray as well. The 4K's got a commentary with Tim Lucas. The Blu-ray's got an interview with Volker Scholendorf. There's a visual essay, Last Year at Marienbad A to Z. Memories of Last Year at Marienbad. Plus, you get a 1957 short film by Len Rennie, To la Mémoire du Monde. Seminal, even though some people might think it's complete arse. The best Jack the Ripper film, even though I'm biased, John Bram's The Lodger with George Sanders and Laird Krieger. 1944, absolutely brilliant. I would highly recommend this one. Commentary by Gregory William Mank. Audio commentary by Elaine Silver and James Orsini. The Man in the Attic, The Making of the Lodger. There's a radio show performed by Vincent Price again. There's a 2007 restoration comparison and an animated image montage. Yeah, The Lodger is absolutely fantastic. A really odd little film. I don't know if this was in Moviedrome or not. George Axelrod's Lord Love a Duck. I'm not making this up, by the way. Roddy McDowell, Tuesday Weld, Lola Albright, Martin West and Ruth Gordon. From 1966, you can tell it's from the 60s. Unfortunately, all you get is a trailer. Roddy McDowell is a little devious, impish character who gets Tuesday Weld into all manner of trouble. A little film by Alan Rudolph, Love at Large. Always had a soft spot for it. Tom Berenger, Elizabeth Perkins and Anne Archer from 1990. And there are no special features in this one. It's Francesco Rossi, it's Volonte, it's Rod Steiger, it's Edmund O'Brien, it's Vincent Gardenia, it's Lucky Luciano. 1973. It's not Rossi's best, I have to say. It just doesn't quite work the way it maybe should. It's still great Volonte performance, because that's all he did. It's a 4K restoration from the original negative, and there's a commentary by Simon Abrams and trailers. Here's Volonte as the man himself. Lucky Luciano. And then John McNaughton's Mad Dog and Glory, morally questionable, but Robert De Niro, Uma Thurman and Bill Murray. This is another VHS Memories from 1993. It's a commentary by John McNaughton, making of and archival interviews with Bill Murray, Robert De Niro, Uma Thurman, McNaughton and producer somebody called Martin Scorsese, I haven't really heard him, and the theatrical trailer. Another personal favourite, Made for Each Other with Carol Lombard and James Stewart. Directed by John Cromwell, who you don't really hear about, from 1939. There's a commentary by Lee Gambin and a trailer. This is a fascinating film because it kind of starts off as a screwball comedy and then takes a very dark turn indeed. And again, it's almost a film that shows you where Lombard could have went if she'd lived longer, as far as more dramatic roles as well. She could do it all. You know, before I started this channel, I didn't even realise that Ray Milland had directed films. But here's a little western from 1955 called A Man Alone, also starring somebody called Ray Milland. It co-stars Ward Bond, Raymond Burr and Lee Van Cleef. It's absolutely a little gem. It's a commentary by Toby Rohn. This has got a 4K remaster. Yeah, it's a fascinating little film. And then also available in Arrow. This is Miracle Mile in a not really a Kino box. This is from 1989. And this has a bunch of special features. I'm assuming it's similar to the Arrow release. It's got a commentary by the director. Well, it's got two commentaries by the director, but there's one with the DP and production designer. Excavations from the editing room. Tar pits, supporting cast and crew reunion. There's an interview with Anthony Edwards and Marie Winningham, alternate diamond ending, and there's trailers for Miracle Mile and Cherry 2000 randomly. Yeah, Miracle Mile, another fascinating little film. Another VHS gem. Is it a good film? Yeah, you can make up your own mind. Mr. Destiny with James Belushi and Michael Caine, about what if you made slightly different decisions, from 1990. It's a commentary with James Belushi and director James Orr, and trailers. Co-stars Linda Hamilton, John Lovitz, Hart Boschner, Michael Caine. Well, as I said, Michael Caine. Rennie Russo's in it as well. Yeah, pure nonsense, but I've always had a soft spot for it. This is another Joseph Losey trip from 1966, Modesty Blaze. He wasn't meant to direct it, he pretty much just took it over. You know, if you followed the Losey journey on the channel, you know, so many jobs he just took on because he needed the work and he was a replacement, or he had to feed his family. But this is quite wonderful. Dirk Bogarde just steals the show, but you also get Monica Vitti in the title role and Terence Stamp. This is from 1966. There's an interview with first assistant Gavrik Losey and son of Joseph Losey. No idea how he got that job. Interviews with screenwriter Evan Jones and assistant art director Norman Dormy. Audio commentary by David Duvall and filmmaker Armand Mastroianni, and animated image gallery and trailer gallery, co-starring Harry Andrews as well. There's the film The Night Stalker, also Kolchak, directed by John Llewellyn Moxey. Also there's another Dan Curtis joint, written by Richard Matheson. Also Ralph Meeker's in it, and Carol Lindley, and poor old Simon Oakland, who of course is a long-suffering editor of Kolchak. But you get you get a commentary with Tim Lucas, you get an interview with the director, an interview with the composer, There's a Night Stalker Dan Curtis interview featurette. Yeah, it looks as though there's a vampire in Vegas. And then we have the Night Strangler. This is from 1973. And again, this pretty much has the same features: a new commentary with Tim Lucas, a new interview with the composer, directing the Night Strangler featurette, and there's a booklet essay as well. Yeah, I just adore Kojak. Another 4K nostalgia by Tarkovsky. You know, the first time when I saw that for the first time, the final shots of the film, I wet myself. And then everybody around me were like, "Why are you wetting yourself?" And it's like, "Look at this." They just didn't get it. So this has a commentary with Daniel Bird. And on the Blu-ray, it's got a new interview with the DP, Giuseppe Lanci. There's a re-release trailer, Voyage in Time, 1983, behind the scenes. Yeah, it's always been, I think, underrated nostalgia. Top Class Misery by this chap here. Again, more Carol Lombard, can never have enough. Nothing Sacred, Frederick March, directed by William Wellman. It's an early colour, even though it's from 1937. There's a commentary by William Wellman Jr. And a trailer. Absolutely wonderful. And then we've got Vincent Price and Christopher Lee in the Oblong Box. Again, this is on BFI Blu-ray in the UK from 1969. There's a commentary by film historian Steve Haberman. Edgar Allan Poe's Annabelle Lee from 1969, narrated by Vincent Price, and a Vincent Price trailer gallery. What more could you want? And then remade by Billy Wilder as Buddy Buddy with Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau and Klaus Kinski. That doesn't quite work as well as the original. This is a pain in the ass. Lino Ventura and Jacques Brel, or La Emendure, I think its proper name is, from 1973. A commentary by Nick Pinkerton. One's a hitman and one's a somebody who wants to end their own existence. And hilarity ensues. Yeah, it's better than Buddy Buddy, and that's kind of disappointing to say, but Billy Wilder, Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon, just not the same. The 4K of Pass of Glory. Again, this is on Eureka 4K, Masters of Cinema. This is just a commentary with Tim Lucas and a theatrical trailer. But I mean, it's Pass of Glory, you don't need too many extras, you just need the film really. Don Amici and Zsa Zsa Gabor. Hard to believe Don Amici and Zsa Zsa Gabor were in a film, but they were, and that film is Picture Mommy Dead. Again, another classic Kino Lorber title, from 1966. This has got a commentary by Howard Berger and Nathaniel Thompson, and a trailer. Directed by Bert I. Gordon. Elizabeth Scott, again, she didn't make a lot of films, but she left a lasting impression. Dick Powell and Raymond Burr, directed by Andre de Toth. Pitfall, from 1948. There's a commentary by Eddie Muller, who does a lot of work with UCLA Film Television Archive and does great comedies. Yeah, this is a little corker. Speaking of which, it's another edition of Planet of Vampires. Also, I've got the Radiance one too. Look at that artwork. Bava Brilliance from 1965. There's a ton of special features. Commentary of Kim Newman and Barry Forshaw. Commentary by Tim Lucas. Alternate music score. Italian opening credits. There's two trailers from Hell, one with Joe Dante and one with Josh Olson. and a theatrical trailer. And one of my personal favourites, Premature Burial, yeah, the Corman Poe without Vincent Price, but Ray Milland I think is ideal for it, with his buggy creepy eyes, his paranoia. This is from 1962. Buried Alive, legendary director Joe Dante on Premature Burial. There's an interview with the great Roger Corman, and Trailers from Hell with Roger Corman, and the original trailer. Yeah, you gotta love Premature Burial. A fairly recent release, a film that was just one of those lost films that I was amazed that finally got resurrected. It's William Friedkin's Rampage, his treatise on capital punishment. There's two different cuts, a 96-minute cut and a 91-minute cut. It stars Michael Biehn as the lawyer who's got conflict of interest and problems. Really underrated, again, unseen for years. I just had a cut of it on a disc off the television, so it's amazing to actually get it. Not only in Blu-ray but in 4K as well. Yeah, music's by Morricone as well, which I had completely blanked out of my mind. You know, I like Clive Barker. Rawhead Rex. I think I got this years ago in a kind of Kino Lorber lot on eBay from 1986. But again, this sums up Kino Lorber. I mean, look at the extras given to Rawhead Rex. There's a commentary with the director, moderated by Stephen Thrower, who's fantastic. Interview with actor Heinrich von Binnau, interview with actor Ronan Wilmot, interview with the SFX crew. There's an interview with the cameraman, an interview with the Stephen S. Bissett, co-creator of John Constantine. There's a booklet essay with Kat Ellinger, behind the scenes. Yeah, that just sums up Kino Lorber, or something like Rawhead Rex. The extras are rather impressive. The Return of the Musketeers, the third Richard Lester Musketeers film from 1989. There's a commentary by film historian Peter Tunget, an image gallery, and a trailer. It stars Michael York, Oliver Reed, Frank Finlay, C. Thomas Howell, Kim Cattrall, Geraldine Chaplin, Christopher Lee, Philip Noiret, a little bit of Richard Chamberlain, Jean-Pierre Cassel. Unfortunately, this is the film that lost Roy Kinnear during the filming. Pretty much ended Richard Lester's desire to make films, and you can kind of feel it in the film, unfortunately. Another Volonte joint, based on the true story of Sacco and Vinetti even. Filmed by Giuliano Montaldo, score by Ennio Morricone with a vocal by Joan Baez. I mean, for years I'd heard that and I didn't actually realise what film it's from. It's from this one. There's Volonte. Look at his big shouty face. Commentary by Alex Cox, so it's an automatic must buy, and it contains both English and audio and Italian audio tracks from 1971, based on the events in Boston in 1920. Yeah, just absolutely brilliant. I did a video on this as well. The 4K of Scarlet Street. Yeah, I managed to pick this up fairly cheaply. This is Fritz Lang, and it's Edward G. Robinson, Joan Bennett, and Dan Daria. I mean, how are you not going to pick that up? It's a brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master from a 16-bit 4K scan of the 35mm nitrate composite fine grain, courtesy of Universal Pictures and UCLA. There's a commentary by Imogen Sarah Smith, and there's commentary by David Kalat, author of The Strange Case of Dr. Mabusa, from 1945. And it's absolutely wonderful. The Sergio Leone Westerns, just because I didn't have enough copies of the Sergio Leone Westerns. Fistful of Dollars, a few dollars more. The theatrical cut of The Good, the Bad and Ugly, which is the cut I actually prefer. Once Upon a Time in the West, and A Fistful of Dynamite. It's weighty. Yeah, he didn't make a lot of films, but the films he made are certainly part of my DNA, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Another random film, if you thought, where's that IRA film with James Cagney? Shake Hands with the Devil. James Cagney, Dana Winter from Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Glynis Johns, brilliant as always. There's an interview with actor Don Murray. Yeah, this is a strange one from 1959. Jimmy Cagney in the IRA. Yeah, an absolute banger from Henri Vernieu, Alain Delon, Jean Gabin and Lino Ventura. Just say that again. Alain Delon, Jean Gabin and Lino Ventura. I think I did a random review of this because I had to. Absolutely brilliant. The Sicilian Clan. Yeah, I'm sure Morricone did the music for this one as well. It was a 2K restoration of the 125-minute international cut, and there's also the 118-minute cut. It's a commentary by Berger and Nathaniel Thompson. There's a piece by Fred Cavey on the Sicilian Clan, and there's a 63-minute featurette of the legend of the clan. So again, maybe one day Radiance might release this, but this is a must buy. I mean, it's just icons everywhere, including the music, and it's just amazing. Again, one that I've had for years, one of the first Kinos. Elliot Gould, Christopher Plummer and Susanna York in The Silent Partner, a Canadian film. If you've ever wanted to see Christopher Plummer in drag, it's the film for you from 1978. There's an interview with Elliot Gould, and there's a commentary by Howard Esberger, Steve Mitchell and Nathaniel Thompson, a radio spot and a theatrical trailer. Carol Lombard again, this time with Randolph Scott. Supernatural, again I've done a random review of this. From 1933, there's a commentary with Tim Lucas in a theatrical trailer. A wonderful little film about a seance gone wrong. Again, another VHS nostalgia film. James Belushi again with Charles Grodin. Originally called Filofax, but Taking Care of Business, about a lost Filofax. From 1990, this has got a commentary with screenwriter Jill Mazursky, and moderated by filmmaker Douglas Hosdale, and there's trailers, directed by Arthur Hiller. Yeah, again, just pure nostalgia. Co-starring Veronica Hamill and Hector Alonso. Orlando even. Music by Stuart Copeland. Again, VHS nostalgia, but obviously I have to have this again. Arrow have released this in 4K, but this is the Kino Lorber of Taking Her Pelham 123 from 1974, directed by Joseph Sargent. One of my favourite films of all time. Walter Matthau, Robert Shaw, Martin Balsam, Hector Alonso. Again, lots of lovely extras, and again Arrow have recently released this. There's commentary by Steve Mitchell and Nathaniel Thompson, commentary by Pat Healy and Jim Healy, and there's a wonderful little 12-minute interview with Hector Elizondo. There's an interview with the editor, an interview with the composer. Yeah, just seminal. Absolutely seminal. And perhaps the greatest ending of all time. Another Douglas Sirk. I said I didn't have that many, but It's two with Barbara Stanwyck, and this one co-stars Fred MacMurray and Joan Bennett. There's Always Tomorrow. This is from 1955. There's commentary by Sam Dane and a trailer, but it's more Barbara Stanwyck action. This one is crazy. I can't imagine why I bought this. It's from 1984, and it's Sybil Danning and They're Playing with Fire. As I said, I can't imagine why I bought it. This has got an interview with Sybil Danning and a trailer. This is a really weird film. Hear me out. It's kind of part slasher, part kind of erotic teen comedy, part giallo. It's kind of all over the place, but it's somehow, I mean, it doesn't really work, but I think you've got to give it a couple of points for at least trying. This is a little Robert Siodmak with Phyllis Calvert, Robert Hutton and Ella Raines. Ella Raines is really underrated. Time Out of Mind. This is from 1947. There's a commentary by Lee Gambin and costume historian Elisa Rose and trailers. This is Claudia Colbert in The Tort Singer from 1933. There's a commentary by Kat Ellinger and there's trailers. This is directed by Alexander Hall. The 4K of 12 Angry Men. I would say the 4K doesn't look that great, to be honest. Maybe it's just my setup. There's a commentary by Gary Girani, commentary by Drew Casper. Yeah, you actually get the William Friedkin film as a bonus on Blu-ray. You get a making of and you get a featurette as well as a trailer. So you actually get William Friedkin's film as well, which on paper perhaps has an even better cast than the original, but it's just not as good. It's pretty much the same script, almost word for word, and it's got like a almost better cast on paper, but it's just not the original. Vincent Price, Twice Told Tales, an anthology with the great man himself. There's a commentary of Richard Harlan Smith and Perry Martin, and trailers from Hell with Mick Garris and the original trailer. John Bram again, The Undying Monster, which is a quasi-werewolf film, which is wonderful, from 1942. It's only 63 minutes, but it's just perfectly done. There's a wonderful little piece on the films of John Bram. There's a commentary by Tom Weaver, Shumashita Bram, David Schechter and Robert J. Kiss. Can't remember real name. There's trailers, there's a 2007 restoration comparison. A lovely little gem from 1942. And then really enjoyed this. Robert Aldridge again, Vera Cruz with Gary Cooper and Burt Lancaster. Burt Lancaster's just going full bore in this one from 1954. There's a commentary by Alex Cox, so it's a must buy. There's a trailer from Hell with John Landis and the theatrical trailer. Vera Cruz, I did a review of that as well. It's Carol Lombard again, this time in the Jungle with Charles Laughton. It's White Woman from 1933, and this is wonderful, but I'm biased. Filmmaker Alan Arkush and Daniel Kramer give a commentary, and it has the trailer directed by Stuart Walker. It's Carol Lombard, man. Wild at Heart with Pearl and Pressburger, but fortunately it includes Gone to Earth, which is obviously the version you want, because Wild at Heart is the cut American version, which isn't as good as Gone to Earth, but you get Gone to Earth as a bonus, fortunately. Yeah, so for example, the Wild at Heart is 86 minutes and Gone to Earth I'm not sure how long it is, but it's longer than 86 minutes. I think it's got 110 or something. So there's the Roadshow edition of Wild at Heart, Gone to Earth, the original 1950 version. There's a commentary by Troy Howarth on the Wild Heart, and there's a commentary by Sam Dane on Gone to Earth. Not sure why you'd watch Wild at Heart apart from just out of morbid interest, but Gone to Earth is the definitive one. And finally, for the standard versions, it's Barbara Stanwyck again, plus the legendary George Sanders. It's Witness to Murder, which is wonderful. Directed by Roy Rowland from 1954. It's a little bit Rear Window-esque, but it's Barbara Stanwyck and George Sanders, so it's automatically better. So then I'm just going to go through, without collapsing everything, my film noir box sets, The Dark Side of Cinema. Now, there was a point in my life where I thought I would get all of these, but I think they're almost up at like 25 or 26 volumes, so I'm never going to get all of them. Maybe if I win the lottery. But this is the film noir Dark Side of Cinema. This is the first volume, which actually has 5 films in it, and then all the other volumes have got 3. So this has He Ran All the Way with John Garfield and Shelley Winters from 1951, directed by John Berry. Again, these are names that you don't really hear of anymore. A Bullet for Joey, George Raft and Edward G. Robinson from 1955, directed by Lewis Allen. Strange enough, Witness to Murder, which I just spoke about. Big House USA from 1955, which is awesome, with Broderick Crawford, Ralph Meeker, Lon Chaney and Charles Bronson. Are you kidding? Directed by Howard W. Koch. And Storm Fear from 1955, Cornel Wilde, Gene Wallace and Dan DeRea. I mean, these are just, I just love these film noirs. I mean, you can just, they're generally always less than an hour and a half. You can just put them on and watch the beautiful cinematography. So this is volume 2. This is The Price of Fear with Merle Oberon and Lex Barker, directed by Abner, what is that? Abner Berman from 1956. It's actually quite late. Then we've got The Female Animal, Hedy Lamarr, Jane Powell, Jan Sterling and George Nader from 1958. And this is directed by Harry Keller. Then you've got Thunder in the Hill. It's a nuns film with Claudia Colbert and Anne Blythe, directed by Douglas Sirk. I might actually have 3 Douglas Sirks. So that's volume 2. Then what do you know, I've got volume 3. This is The Lady Gambles, Barbara Stanwyck. I think this was in one of the Indicator sets. This is fantastic. Robert Preston, Stephen McNally, directed by Michael Gordon. I should say lots of these have commentaries. Sleeping City with Richard Conte. This is directed by George Sherman. And Abandoned, Dennis O'Keefe, Gail Storm, No Name for Her Baby, Only a Price. Jeff Chandler's in this as well, and Raymond Burr from 1949. And again, that's got a commentary by Sam Dane. What do you know? It's volume 4. What have we got in volume 4? We've got An Act of Murder with Frederick March looking suspicious, Edmund O'Brien, directed by Michael Gordon from 1948. We've got Six Bridges to Cross with Tony Curtis from 1955, directed by Joseph Payne. And we have Calcutta with Alan Ladd, Gail Russell and William Bendix, directed by John Farrow. I believe this is in the imprint John Farrow box set. It's good to see John Farrow getting some love and recognition. And then I don't have number 5, but I do have number 6, which is The Raging Tide. This is Shelley Winters, Richard Conte, Stephen McNally, from 1951, directed by George Sherman. And we have Johnny Stool Pitching, which is a great title. Again, I think this might be in one of the indicator sets. Howard Duff, Shelley Winters and Dan DeRea with Tony Curtis, directed by William Castle, would you believe? And Singapore, directed by the aforementioned John Bram, with Fred McMurray and Ava Gardner from 1947. That's hot stuff. And then from number 6 we go to number 7. We have Chicago Confidential with Brian Keith, Beverly Garland and Dick Foran, directed by Sidney Salco from 1957. And then we have John Payne, directed by Byron Haskin, The Boss, from 1956. And then finally we've got The Fear Makers, which is a great wee film with Dana Andrews, directed by Jacques Tourneur, of all people, from 1958. Again, I just love these films, I really do. Once you've watched them, you can't really remember much about them, but they're so much fun. And then volume 8. Again, as I say, maybe one day if I win the lottery I'll try and get them all, but then we have Temptation, not Temptation, Temptation. Merle Oberon, George Kent, Charles Coburn, Paul Lucas. Directed by Irving Pichel from 1946. We have Enter Arsène Lupin, with Charles Corvin and Ella Raines, one of the many Lupin films, from 1944, directed by Ford Beebe. And Street of Change, Street of Chance even, Burgess Meredith and Claire Trevor, directed from 1942, directed by Jack Hively. That's number 8. Oh, I fear everything's going to collapse quite quickly. Number 10, so I don't have number 9. This is the boxing box set. World in My Corner with Audie Murphy. Is always fascinating to watch. From 1956, directed by Jesse Hibbs. The Square Jungle with Tony Curtis and Ernest Borgnine from 1955, directed by Jerry Hopper. And Flesh and Fury with Tony Curtis and Jan Sterling from 1952, directed by Joseph Pevney again. The things you learn watching this channel. And then finally, or in actual fact, not finally, because I've got one more. Number 11, A Woman's Vengeance. Charles Boyer with Anne Blythe and Jessica Tandy. Yes, Jessica Tandy was once young. Directed by Zoltan Korda from 1948. We have Behind the High Wall with Tom Tully and the really underrated Sylvia Sidney. Directed by Abner Bieberman. That's not a real name. From 1956. and I Was a Shoplifter. Scott Brady, the underrated Scott Brady, again Tony Curtis. You have 1950, directed by Charles Lamont. You gotta love these titles as well. And then finally, number 13. So as you can see, I've got a long way to go, so there's no way I'm ever going to get all of them. This is Step Down to Terror. Colleen Miller, Charles Drake and Rod Taylor. And this is directed by Harry Keller from 1958. And then we've got Spy Hunt. Howard Duff and Marta Torrin, directed by George Sherman from 1950. And then we have The Night Runner with Ray Danton, Colleen Miller, directed by, it's Abner Bieberman again. There's no way he's a real person. From 1957. So that's volume 13, which is as far as I've got. As I said, it's up to volume 27 by now, which is wonderful because there's just an endless supply of these film noirs. You know, are any of them masterpieces? Probably not, but they're all so much fun and so enjoyable and full of like rich history of like supporting cast and little character actors and little kind of journeyman directors that you realise you've got quite a lot of their films even though you don't talk about them very often. So thanks very much for watching. My throat is unbelievably dry because I've been talking for an hour and a quarter. I apologise for the length. You can maybe watch this in 10 little episodes. But thanks very much for watching. That's my pared down Kino Lorber. Doesn't seem that pared down, but that's my pared down Kino Lorber collection. Reset of 2026. Again, please let me know what Kino Lorbers you have and what's your favourite. And hopefully you'll join me again as I continue to go through my collection reset, because you can see all the empty shelves behind me. I've pared down. So this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films saying farewell.